time that we first met in person, she had just become the president of the Social Science Research Council. Also, at the time, she had just published a new book called The Social Life of DNA, about dimensions of race and ethnicity in the study of the human genome. Most recently, she was deputy assistant to President Joe Biden at the White House.
She is the first social scientist to have been the White House science advisor. Science isn't just for science's sake, but science is to serve society. And therefore, to have a social scientist in that role has been incredibly important for the history of the executive branch.
Now she's looking at the newest kinds of technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning.
Alondra was recently selected to be one of the 100 most influential people in AI. And I think that's really important because of what it tells us about what the critical problem with AI may be. A changing of what we think the relationship between humans and our technologies are.
This particular award with the word changing, and I think it's particularly fitting for Alondra.
Her work is literally changing the society. AI could be incredibly disruptive and could also have great positive impact on things.
She represents the very best of what it means to be impactful, what it means to make change. Her rise to one of the highest and most influential positions in academia as well as in U.S. government is an example to everyone.
Alondra, a heartfelt congratulations on winning this important award.
This award recognizes the impact that you've made throughout your life, but it's also an award from a grateful public. You've given so generously of your time, and we want to thank you deeply, all of us, from our hearts.